Okay, this is our video for Module 1.5, Part 2 assignment, which is the second part of the that standard that we talked about last week. So I planned an activity, and I just tried to explain it to you. Was there anything that wasn't clear about it?
I think it made sense. The only thing that confused me a tiny bit was when I asked, like, okay, so if that person, like the list that you had 1 through 20, the idea is that they have to make their equation, like you said, 8 plus 2, and then that person would like put their name on 10, right? Or are they writing their equation?
That's a good question. Maybe I thought about having each kid or each group has a colored marker so they can see.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they actually write the equation just to show that they can show how to add numbers and do the equation. So I thought they would write it, but in a color so they could identify themselves. So ideally, everybody should have written something on there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
And I felt like, I know it's not a super interesting activity, because I thought, well, you could count with candy or you could do all that, but then I worry that would distract too much, because they're getting the energetic part of getting up and walking around.
Yeah.
And they'll take turns, like one group will sit while the group on the inside of the circle moves around, and then they'll switch so that they can each play the different role.
No, I think that's good because it gets them up and down and actually moving.
Yeah, and they're first graders according to the standard. So this was my criteria. So this was one thing that I wasn't sure if I chose the best way to group them. So I just did random grouping to make sure that nobody, that you've got a mix of kids. But the risk is that you could end up with 2 kids that really don't know how to do it.
Yeah, maybe like you can add like, okay, if you really like, if you do find those kids that you know that they're gonna need help, like you could just be like, if you need help, like have a purple card up or something, or like go to a specific area.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Or like you can phone a friend.
Yes.
Type thing.
So for the people that need help, and then there also could be kids who like don't even need help, and they've probably already mastered it. So I did have something for them to do. Early finishers, they're challenged to use a different method, maybe from another class, because I'm assuming that we've practiced other methods for addition, like to come up with as many ways that they could solve, like using their same numbers.
Yeah, and then like just showing the different ways you could do it. I think that's a good idea.
I thought about giving the higher numbers to like kids that were like on the higher end, but I don't know if they would realize that and know that. I don't know. I just also,
it would
for
just have to
simplicity,
depend.
I was like getting way too much into it. I do feel like this activity might be a lot to explain to first graders, that if they would find it clear what to do. But maybe it's something that could be done more than once, like use it again for subtraction, and then maybe, oh gosh, then you get negatives. Okay, never mind on that. But I like the idea of this just for getting kids up and moving, because I was talking to somebody on the playground just about how these kids have trouble sitting around.
Yes.
And our kids do too. And then the way it's presented is on this collaborative poster, just to show that they have demonstrated the standard, the learning target of the standard, is like the product of the activity. Because I don't know, maybe there's other ways to make things like that for math, but
I think this works. I
Yeah.
think that makes sense.
I thought that was what I came up with.
Yeah, that's good.
And then the other thing that I did want to talk to you about was this book called Teach Like a Champion and Setting Expectations for Kids.
Okay.
And it asked the question, which is more important, academic or behavioral?
Oh, you know my
expectations?
answer to that one. Behavioral. Because how are
Okay.
you you're gonna learn academics if you don't have the behavior under control yet?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the most important, and that's like, especially in being in this type of setting, we do focus more on behavior, and then we add the academics when we can.
Yeah.
Um,
It's unfortunate though, because in the gen ed, I don't think they can do that.
yeah.
They really like will stay on academic as long as they can before addressing behavioral. Do you think?
Yeah, I think because they have so many more standards and like test scores
There's
to
more pressure.
Yeah, I feel like there's more pressure that they have to do. In the SPED setting, the kids are already in SPED.
Okay.
So, and you expect to have more behavioral needs.
Yeah. Because that TEAMS rubric has both. There's a section for behavioral and academic. And then, let's see. The difference, I mean, it's just the difference between the expectations. I don't know what that means.
Of
Do you?
behavior and academic expectations.
I didn't bring that stuff, but
The difference between behavior and academic expectations. I feel like it just depends on if you want them to be following directions and
yeah, it's a
having-
completely different set of
Yeah.
words that you're using.
yeah.
So this was a question that I came up with. This will have to be edited out. Bus call. So how do you know, I guess this could apply to behavioral too. How do you know if your expectations of someone are too high? I've wondered this a lot.
If your
Like
academic expectations.
with a kid.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on. I have an example of one of our kiddos in here that I can think of, and you can see the frustration level. So if something is too academically high for them, they typically get more frustrated when they're not a typically frustrated kid, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, obviously, like if you have tests and like your progress monitoring, you're going to be able to figure it out that way. But I think also you'll see more behaviors if something is academically too high
Oh, that's
for
a good,
kid.
yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
connection. Okay.
Like,
Yeah, there we go. How do you know when expectations are high and they're causing the behavior?
Mhm.
Because we suspect that with that
Yeah.
kid. Okay. God, that would be hard if you've got 20 plus kids in your
Yeah.
classroom now. Okay. All right, that was the only thing on that. Oh, and then parent-teacher conferences. We can talk about that later.
Fun.
The end.